Man, that's loud audio. Back on. Oh, that's better. Hang on a second. What am I doing? Okay, that's off. That's off. What a fumbly way to start a show. I'm getting there. Here I come. Ladies and gentlemen. Hey there. How's it going, everybody? Good to see you. That was not the smooth start I wanted. I was hoping for something better. My monitor appears to be dusty. Let's see, that's better. That's better. Welcome back. Good to see you all. Assuming everyone can see and hear me. This is episode 96. Towers fall. Groves rise. These are the days of our lives. These are the moments of our infinium. Let's see. Hey D-Live, good to see you guys again. Hated that I couldn't stream to you yesterday. I do not know how to do that on mobile. It is something I'm looking forward to working on, and I will. I really appreciate you guys being there. Yesterday I did a short hello. There's no way I would have made it back in time. I would have showed up about 11:30, and so yeah, I stopped in the middle of a live stream and did a live stream. If anyone thinks I did that on purpose, I did not. I wish that I could have thought of that. That would have been hilarious to say, hey, I'm live streaming from a live stream. Others of you did, but I didn't even catch that. There is a subterranean gear that I enter into sometimes where the intuition starts to drive my car. I call it trance state. I strive as hard as I can to maintain that trance state. In trance state, not only are you not concerned with what others think of you, in trance state, you ceases to be. You are not a noun anymore. You become a verb. This is what many of us call dancing. Dancing when no one's watching is what we call it, right? Or dancing as if there's no one's watching, I should say. What that truly means is that you've entered into a trance state, you've switched from noun to verb, and you are no longer subconscious of how anyone feels. But the reason why you are no longer subconscious of how anyone feels is because you are not an actual entity anymore. You are not something that can take fault. You're not someone that can take the rebuke or the criticism from others. You're simply not there. You are in a state of verb. You are in action. You are the wind, right? You are the stream. You are the water. You are all those things. And when I travel, I enter into that mode if I'm doing well. And it's nice to find that pocket again. It's been a while. I used to be all about travel. All about travel. I've seen most of I think every state. I've definitely seen most countries in Europe. I'm not well traveled. I'm not trying to say that at all. I've only been Central America has been the furthest south I've ever been, but I know enough about travel to realize that one can enter into a trance state and really become a different sort of a being. And that's what I experienced in Rhinebeck, New York. Wow. The purpose of my visit was manyfold. And there's a lot of things about my visit I can't actually speak about, but I'm going to explain why I can't speak about it and more discuss what this means for you, what this means for all of us as we migrate through the best apocalypse ever. I have got two friends with me today, I hope, and it is the Baldersons. This time I brought both of them in, and both Benjamin and Christy. And let me see if I can actually find that now. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
We can.
Right on. Fantastic. I don't see you yet, and that's probably fine because we were concerned about the bandwidth coming in. But are you sending video, or did you decide audio is better?
Hold on. I probably just haven't pushed a button. There we go.
Oh, great. Now I need to show the audience. They don't see you, but I see you. Wait. I bet you they do see you. Yeah, you guys, the audience sees you. The audience sees you. Hey, guys, where are you?
Hello.
What's up, brother?
Who's your friend?
Which friend?
I see a picture of you with a bird.
Oh, that's my, that is a dark-eyed junco, and no one else can see that, I don't think. Oh, wait. Hang on a second. I'm getting ready to fix this. I should have done this earlier. Let me just zoom in here on that. What?
Amateur.
Didn't you rehearse this?
How dare you? How dare you? Where is that window? I shouldn't even be seeing you. This is the thing that's really... Oh, I know why I'm seeing you. I got you. Hang on a second. They can't see you right now. Hang on. This will take 1 second. We can hear you.
Because you're looking at the magic box.
But we can't see you right now, but we can hear you, just so you know. Zoom.
Well, with me, that's probably good, but my wife's quite attractive, so...
I think both of you guys have a je ne sais quoi about you that makes it a beautiful thing to behold. So, let me see here.
I kind of like him. I think he's pretty good looking.
Yeah, I could see why you'd say that. Where are you guys geographically right now?
We are in Bristol, Pennsylvania.
Right on.
We are at the home of the lovely Amanda Grogan. Some of you in the chat room and around the Facebook and different sites will know her, and she's put us up for a night and two nights, and we just visited and just making more connections.
Right
and
on.
She let us use her home to shoot the video, and then we're heading back west.
You've come a long way. Both of you have. Why am I so dumb that I can't figure out where to sit? Here we go. I'm rusty, guys. I've been gone too long.
All that time off
in the mountains,
breathing that mountain air.
I'm like, oh, which way do I go? So yeah, that was a quite a long way. You guys came. Although I will say that there were many purposes for you coming. Of course, you guys are newly married. And I would like to say congratulations publicly for that.
Thank you very much. I couldn't be happier.
And in fact, as I'm typing that, I'm doing something that you guys did not know that I'm doing. I'm sorry, Benjamin, but it's just too late. I've posted your PayPal address in my live stream address, and I am asking that if anyone would like to send a little juju, a little something for their wedding gift, I would consider that in lieu of super chats all week. I would love that. These guys came super far. You guys had to rent a horse even to get here. And the things that you brought, not only the energy itself, were quite a sacrifice. Thank you both for coming.
Oh, it was so amazing.
That is
so amazing.
Wow. Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
that's wow.
The craziest thing I've ever heard of. Thank you.
Well, absolutely. You guys, did you guys see all that? I'm talking to the chat now. You guys see all that, right? You should see that. That's a PayPal email address, and you can send that to him if you want. D-Live, did you guys get that? Did you guys get that, D-Live? I know my mods in D-Live will definitely be making sure they get that too. All right, great. So, I wanted to talk about ceremony and ritual today with you guys. And before we talk about that, I want to re-emphasize what Amanda said yesterday, which I think is really important. I think it was yesterday. I'm not asking us to disclose what we did as a group at Rhinebeck. That's a sacred thing, and I want us to talk about that. But these ceremonies are very important alchemical recipes that work on humans. And these ceremonies, which we're getting ready to talk about, are vital. So we have to talk about them. So if we can, I'm going to ask that we talk about them in a recipe standpoint. In other words, let's not talk about the delicious cake that we had in Rhinebeck. Let's talk about how we made that cake. and the thoughts that we put into it. We all met at Rhinebeck for 4 or 5 days. Rhinebeck is a special place. It's actually near Woodstock. In fact, I can hear Andy saying, "Well, technically it's not Rhinebeck," and that's good. I think technically it's actually not inside the city of Rhinebeck. We just call it that, but it is a place where I went to gather last summer to a house where many of the people at that house that came to gather have gathered one time before. This is actually an offshoot from a amazing gentleman named Neil Kramer. Neil Kramer was having some gatherings near that house, and people were renting that house and growing from it. I took what was given to me. I was given a scholarship last summer. I was saying, James, please come up here. I realize you're a new author and you're trying to save as much money as you can, but you coming here is important. And I took that chance and I went there, and it was a very, very important ceremony for me, which is why I wanted to do it again, why Andy Kaufman and I wanted to do it again. And as soon as Andy and I started discussing it, I knew instantly that I had to have the Balderson's energy inside this ceremony, that it actually wouldn't be a ceremony without that. And so let's get to it. The ceremony itself as Rhinebeck is going to involve a recipe that involves some sacrifice. One of those sacrifices is travel. One of those sacrifices is suspending your life to leave it, closing up your shop, doing whatever it is, and actually hitting the road, a pilgrimage, okay? Every step you take is a sacrifice towards this ceremony itself. Notice, everyone, that the sacrifices that we're going to be discussing are all sacrifices of the self. That's literally the only definition of sacrifice that we're discussing here, all right? So, as all of us came, Benjamin and Christy made one of the largest sacrifices, coming the most amount of miles. There were others too. Beth Martins drove an incredibly long distance. We had people.
Jonathan drove a long way.
Yep, Jonathan too trekked many, many miles, coast to coast. Really,
Lane.
Everyone did. Yeah. Lane came from Oklahoma. I'm sure even Lauren came from Colorado. I know I'm missing. The point is that people came from very, very far away, and that was the very first ingredient in this ceremony. The very first alchemical ingredient that they brought was the sacrifice of their time, their energy, their resources to get here. All right. The second sacrifice is social tension, social nervousness. All right. People are coming that don't know each other. They have no idea if they're going to get along. In a way, as soon as you walk into the house, you're looking at all these bunks crammed into a room, and you're just like, holy fuck, should I have even come? This is crazy. What if I don't? What's going on, right? How is this going to work? That's the second sacrifice. It's your comfort. Your comfort is dissolved. I'm not talking about creature comforts here, guys. We actually were very, very comfortable. Like very, very more comfortable than I am at my house was I camped next to these two.
Way nicer than my house.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the comforts of the electrical shroud that we wear that gives us our bubble, right? That bubble was gone. There's no way that bubble would exist. And anyone who tried to build up their bubble at the house ended up kind of regretting it, because then they were missing out. So it was a constant peeling away of layers while building it up at the same time. Is really fascinating. And then there's one more, and I'm getting ready to let you go here as far as unleash here. The other one was each of us brought an issue, a problem. Each of us brought something to the table that was an irritant, something that we weren't proud of, something that we were hiding at first, something that I'm not necessarily saying hiding it from ourselves, but something that we didn't want to broadcast to the rest of the group to spoil their time. Some of us had little weirdness with each other, or some of us had weirdness with certain behavior that others did, or some of us had weirdness that we were just bringing, right? Just flat out bringing. And I while most of us see the world where we would try and soothe that, where we would try and fix all those things, where we would consider the trip a failure because because those things were present, I think all of us saw that it actually was the opposite, that we were bringing something to the table, something that wasn't only just beautiful, but was something even more beautiful than beautiful. It was something authentic. And that authentic
Yes.
requires a special kind of energy to it. That authentic has to have a smell of taint to it, right? It has to have this deep kind of vulgarity or vileness to it, or else it wouldn't be real, or else it wouldn't be felt as authentic and real. So these are the ingredients that I saw brought to this alchemical soup. What do you guys think about that? What did you see? Just go.
So, just in a quick response to what you were just saying, new seeds don't grow in sterile earth. They grow in fecund, earthy earth. Just you can smell the difference. It's just a fecund scent. So when we're talking about ritual, we need to understand what they were trying to accomplish with ritual. And so one of the first keys to understand is that even in your own body, if you've listened to James and I speak before and talk about the 9 chakra system, or you watch the video with the tree of life, you understand that there's inaccessible parts of yourself that you just don't normally have access to. And then above and beyond that, when you're doing these things, especially as a group, so many times you're trying to do more than just activate yourself. You're trying to do a whole thing. You're trying to create a whole change for the world, or your land, or whatever the case may be. You're trying to create a greater change. And so you're asking more things to be involved in that. So when you're looking at ritual, there's numerous aspects to it. And the way magic works is it's like sailing a ship. And when you're sailing a ship, you understand that you got your oars, and those oars are your will. But anybody that's even read a sailor's story, in a becalmed ocean, when you have nothing but oars to go on, you're a dead man. You can do some things, but it's certainly not what you want to live and subside off of.
The ocean is a big place to cross with nothing but your oars.
Yeah. So you turn around, and first thing you do is you look at your air currents. Where do I set my sails at? And you start figuring out the air currents. And then also you're using the stars to set your location and figure out your bearings. So that's your etheric, your plans, the ideas. Well, then also, you don't want that thing pushing you into a direct understream of power. You want to figure out where that current is below, and you want to ride that current below also. And then if you throw your oars into that, now you're really doing something. Now you're just flying. You're not ice skating uphill. So this is the way the universe just works. It works this way in everything else. And you've got to put a practicality to all of these things and understand that just because you're trying to get things that you can't see to move with you doesn't mean that you don't do it the same basic way. This is why the principle of as above, so below is so useful. So when you're talking about the etheric side, this is where you have decided you're going to do this ritual on this day. You're doing it this day because this is the day that the ritual would make the most sense.
Have the most effect.
Have the most effect. Many times when you're doing a ritual, it's because you're wanting to begin something. So you do this on the new moon or the waxing moon, where power is growing. You wouldn't plant a seed in the fall and then expect things to work out, which when you're looking at the 28-day cycle, you measure that up and understand that that works no different than the yearly cycle with the seasons. And you can break it all down and match it. So you wouldn't do it at the wrong time.
Right.
You put the new seeds in the spring, and that's when they're going to have the most energy, because the first thing you do in the ritual is just like the first thing you did was pick the day, decide what you were going to do, decide what your ritual is going to represent, decide who's going to be there, all those components. then the next thing, that's the feminine. And when you're talking about seasonally, that's winter. That's when all the old is cleared away, and you've got to take away and wipe away all that old growth. So that way, the feminine can make a new encompassing body, and it can get filled with masculine. So we've got to do as much as we can with that feminine to create as much of a clearing and a negative draw. Because like we're not in our talk with Amanda Bowler, when she was talking about the alchemy and she was talking about potency, the way you're going to get the most effect and the most potency out of this is have the epitome of the feminine as very much as possible as you can get. And so you create as much void, as much negative. When I'm in my lab and I'm trying to fill my tubes, I suck that thing down to -30 and just keep that pump running until there is no air in it whatsoever. Because every tiny little bit of air that's in my tube is the masculine fluid that I'm trying to put in there will not go. That's a spot that's already filled. I've got to create as much feminine void as possible. So that way I can get the most potency of what I'm doing. I can put the most masculine in at that point. So now that we've talked to the feminine side, now we need to talk to that masculine side. We've set the ritual, we've set the time, we've set the people, we've picked the sacrifice and offered it. And the sacrifice must be something precious. And precious our time and leaving my farm where my animals, believe me, that is such a sacred thing, being a caretaker of the land and animals. It's so sacred. And for me to step away from my responsibilities is that is a giant portion of what makes me a man. That I am the overseer of that I make sure that these animals live a good life and that they don't have to worry about predators or starving or dying of thirst because it's 110 degrees in California. And all these things, and making sure, like right before I left, one of my guineas got sauerkraut. And so when they eat food, it goes down into this it goes through a bunch of different little cycles and gets broken down. And sometimes they get a sick stomach, basically, and they'll die from that. And this guinea was super sick, and I had to sit there and milk the stuff out of its crop, and all this goop comes leaking out of its nose and its mouth. And all these things I don't get to oversee now. I've got to trust that hopefully none of my animals, I'm going to go home and all my animals are going to be there to account, and everything's going to be just fine and nothing had to suffer and everything else. I don't get to deal with that no more. And that is a promise that I made to my land and my animals. And so it's a giant deal for that to break up. Now, that's part of the sacrifice. Now I want to put in the masculine, because just like, again, with the medicine, the feminine is opening up the masculine power. So the two can work in a symbiosis. So when you start a ritual, the women usually walk a circle and they do a clearing, and they're trying to create a space. So that way this power can come in and fill it. And in that portion, I'd like my lovely life to talk about that.
I gotta stop us because we got way too technical, because we haven't even explained what we were trying to do. And so I think most people are probably super lost right now, because they're like, wait, what? We got to go really slow here. All right, we need tangible things that we're looking at that we see happening with us. Now, wait.
The first thing you need is a space.
Okay, well, stop.
You need a space.
Stop. We have to just set up the recipe. This will take 2 seconds, okay? This will just take 2 seconds.
Let's
okay?
Set it up, James.
Ceremony is the baking of a cake. If you want to bake a cake, you're going to have to turn on the oven. When you turn on that oven's going to have to rise in temperature and be prepared for something to go in. That baking of the oven, that tuning up of the oven, is time itself. All right. Now, you in the kitchen have control over that. You can rise the sun whenever you want. You turn on the oven, and now your sun is rising. All right. You have that heat boiling. It is ready for you to begin. When Benjamin's explaining the as above, so below, in a way, you can look at all of this as being inside a kitchen, that you're actually literally baking a recipe. The recipe, the sacrifice that we're bringing, are the eggs, the flour, the butter. This is our time. This is us. This is who we are. This is an essence. Our goal at Rhinebeck was very simple. We wanted a ceremony to raise everyone there. We wanted a ceremony to refine the alchemical potential of everyone who participated in the ceremony. Because each of us are different, we cannot say, we have a ceremony where we're going to make each of us more responsible with spending money. Or we want a ceremony where each of us are going to learn how to better tend to our driveways. No. We were looking for a ceremony of rising, a ceremony of lead to gold, a rising of potential. So that is the purpose of why we were there. And none of us said to each other, "Hi there, I would like for us to have a ceremony to rise our potential." That's not how it was working. If it was to work that way, it would turn out to be something a little bit more dry. It would turn out to be something almost like what you would see in church, or almost like what you would see at a graduation ceremony, where you have people that are repeating something that they were told. And after they were told that, by repeating it, they're under the impression that they have now bequeathed and believe in that too. And that's really, I think, where most of us have missed out, because there's two very different forms of ceremony out there. One is to repeat something. One is to say something that everyone around you is expecting you to say. And by you saying it and everyone expecting you to say it, there's a convergence where everyone agrees on a certain point. But what Benjamin, Christy, and I are talking about is something much older, something much more traditional. All right? I'm talking about a metamorphosis. I'm talking about a cocoon that's built, where a larvae goes inside and literally dissolves itself of who it was and emerges as something new. It emerges as a butterfly, capable of flying now, something that wasn't capable before. And these ceremonies that we see a lot of, these satanic ceremonies that we see, don't have that metamorphosis. They have change. And I know those sound exactly the same, but to change would be to maintain your state of who you are, but simply have things change around you. To metamorphose is literally to become something new, to forge yourself in the fire, in the salt, and become something new. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because in order to become something new, we literally have to destroy what we were. And I feel like without us knowing this first, what Christy's about to tell you and what Benjamin told you, it may not come clear enough. We were striving for something that you could call painful if you weren't fully invested in what we were going for. From the outside, you would look at that and say, that's painful. That pain is the pressing of the olive to release its oil, right? That pain is the grinding of the stone to secrete its salt. That pain involves what nice, typical society calls destruction. They look at as destruction, not prostruction, but destruction. All right? So with that, Benjamin has to describe very, very well, I think, the elements itself of what we're bringing to it. But something that Benjamin didn't have, and something that I don't have, is the divine feminine, the all mother, the very birth of it all. And that's what I'd love if you could touch on that some, Christy.
Hold on. There you go.
Sorry.
Amateur.
we live in such a crazy time when feminism has changed women into something that we weren't meant to be, and made it so that what we are meant to be is shameful, and it's removed our power. And I think I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but we are meant to work oppositionally. We are meant to create a field. We are not always supposed to be in perfect unison. We're not supposed to do the same things. We have a different polarity, and that polarity creates a field. And the stronger and more stable that those two poles are, the stronger that field is going to be. So when you have a strong masculine and a weak feminine, you're going to have an imbalance. When you have a strong feminine and a weak masculine, you're going to have an imbalance. You need a partnership in all things, not just life in a marital partner, but you have to be grounded in what it is that you want. And I think one of the biggest things that I see when people want to do a ritual or they want to talk about magic is that they don't really know what the goal of what they're doing is. And for the divine feminine in ritual, your intention and your presence has to be very, very strong and very clear. We are creating a space, literally, as we walk a circle, that is all at once protective, but it's also giving us that space from which we're going to create a miracle. We are creating a space, and we are asking something to happen right now. We are pulling that. We are drawing that. And as we are creating that space where it's going to happen, that round circle space, the man comes in behind us and forms 4 points inside the circle. The man, the masculine power. And that point where if you draw a line between those points, where it crosses, that is the point of power. That is the middle of the circle. That is what we are trying to give focus to. Feminine energy is both creative and destructive, though. So the very first thing you were talking about is sacrifice. There is something there that has to be destroyed in order to make room. And that I was really glad that when we did this, there was both the constructive and destructive element to the ritual. There was, if you want something, you've got to be willing to give up the thing that's making you sick. Let's say, for instance, if you know that, I don't know. I thank you for that. I just completely lost my train of thought.
Sorry, baby.
All right. Hang on a second. I'm gonna give a little commentary here. Okay. You guys can't see this, I know, but I'm actually drawing on the screen. I mean, when I say you guys, I mean Ben and Christy. Here. Oh, wait.
Right.
I just drew in Ben's. I don't want to say that Ben himself is. Hang on a second. Okay.
Sure.
So, Christy is saying the very first step is to draw the circle. And that's what the women did, okay? And to draw that circle, they simply, literally created that circle, right? That was really
we
all
created
it
a
took.
physical space first, and then we created that circle with our movement in our bodies around that circle.
Right. So by moving, you were telling the etheric plane that women have claimed this space now, and something is about to happen inside of it. So they
A new life
consecrated
is gonna be created.
Right. And then what happened next is men came in and X'd it. And by X'd it, what they really mean is that they squared it. They squared the circle. All right. So we began our ritual in the circle, and the men came in and added the square. Now, I don't want to tell you guys, I'm talking about the audience here. According to Robert's Rules of Order, in order to create a circle, thou must circle thyself 3 times upon the apostate for the tangent root from the... No, that's not what I'm saying at all. This is a technology of belief. And you will lose yourself to that belief if you feel like you're not following the recipe. All right? So the baking thing really fits here. Why? Because a lot of you anal retentive cooks like baking because it's so precise. You love that precision. And the very first time you follow a ritual, a recipe, it is a boring cake. It is. It's boring. because you're following a recipe. You're not baking. You are following directions. These are very, very, very different actions, right? I mean, completely different secretions comes from a cook who bakes versus a cook who is present, who is believing, right? And so this ritual, this is why I wanted to have this talk, because most of the rituals that I see today, all, with the exception of 3, all the rituals I have seen were people following directions. All right? What we had was a fucking cook in the kitchen. We were cooking something. We weren't following instructions. And the only way to cook that is to start off with this All Mother, to begin with this divine consecration of that circle. And that's why I don't want, and guys, I'm more than happy for you to say, yeah, you do it this time, or you stood here. But my point is that just like when I talk about electrical fields and people get lost because they're like, James, what system of electrical fields are you using? I'm like, no, that's not what I mean. You don't need a system. You don't. What you need is a belief. You need a technology of belief. You just need to believe what it is you're doing. If it helps you to draw a circle, to walk in a circle, that is your belief. That is your technology at work. So do that. Do what works. Do what causes the belief to be secreted from you. Go ahead, Ben.
So that brings me to speaking about the masculine, which is the final element of that whole deal. Now that we've brought the feminine to its epitome, this is, again, winter. So the thing about winter is, and the reason that there's a rush of energy in the spring rather than the rest of the year where the energy is still shifting, but it never has that hard rush, because we've created a hard void with that feminine as much as we can. We've put as much of the divine feminine, the etheric thinking, the planning as we possibly could to get this done. Put as much thought and will and intention into the results that we want. We've set the space, we've set the cocoon in order for this new life, this thing we asked for to start taking root and going somewhere. So now we need root. Now we need the masculine. And so here is where we bring in the power. And like James was saying, and a lot of people are going to have this problem because they've been so disconnected from the earth. They set up a beautiful ceremony. And if you read it, it was extraordinarily touching. And then as they started performing said ceremony, everybody walked around like this and stood in the corners,
shuffling their feet,
shrunk up on themselves, and we're all embarrassed to be there. And am I doing it right? Am I being good? No. You're asking for power now. You don't ask for power puny, you'll get puny power. You ask for power. And so I had to go around, just give them a little goose in the tank. You come on, guys. I'm not embarrassed. I'll give you a thumb in the ass if that's what it takes to perk you up. Quit being, and this is your test. This is where, are you really throwing your all into it? Or are you being too embarrassed about what everybody else thinks about you?
Right.
Am I doing it right? Is this person going to be disappointed? Am I going to look like a fool because I've got my face painted and I'm out here yelling things? All these things are ego. That was the sacrifice in the fire, people. That's what the precious thing that you were throwing in the fire was ego.
Yes.
And so, hold on, I'm gonna mute and take over for a second, James, so his helicopter goes by.
Okay. Yes, all that, yes. In fact, I really want to get Christy back in here too, if she's still nearby, because that part of what you brought was only brought because it had the right amount of salt to it, and those two elements are only going to work if they're opposing each other. All right, if that's part of it. So is Christy nearby? Is she gone?
Yeah, she's sitting right off this side of me here.
Okay, I'll just wait till she gets back. But I definitely want to.
here.
Okay, so in the ceremony, when you noticed that the salt started to come, that the men started to drop their salt. Now, I'm talking about not when the men entered the circle. I'm talking about when they finally started to show their salt. Tell me what you thought, what you felt. Even tell me how you felt before that. It's just, this is such an important point.
As the circle is opening and it's starting to fill, there's a sense of anticipation and a building. But it was a very, until that masculine power was in it, it had a very different feel. That it's the charge. It's
the limp dick.
It's a flaccid. Wow, that's such a
Right.
such a fucking perfect way to. It was a flaccid penis. Is that what you're? I'm sorry, I don't want to put
Yes.
words. Okay.
and when the men came into the circle, then that circle was filled with a charge, because those two polarities are now interacting. You're creating a field. You're you have to have a plane to play on, and with just a void, there's nothing going on. You've created this hole, and it's going to be filled by something, and that masculine better come in and be strong enough to fill that void that we've created. Otherwise, it's going to fill with all kinds of other shit that we didn't want in the mix.
Otherwise, it's very disrespectful to the All Mother, isn't it? It's very disrespectful for what she brought as feminine, to have it come in and be like, well, wait a minute, we got some prime grade A feminine goo here, and we're just gonna walk in and flaccidly just kind of scrape our penis along the side of it, instead of like just really get in there and be like, no, man, it's salt time. Yeah.
Exactly,
because that's what in all ways the world works the same. A ritual works like making a baby, like creating and birthing anything.
Yep.
So this is always what we are trying to accomplish. So, and just like with birthing a baby, when you are having good sex, you're not worried about what the world thinks. Do you care about what the world thinks about the face that you're making, or the weird ass position that you're in, or the freaking weird things that you're doing? You're like, no, I'm just into this. This is great. It's the same exact thing. You've got to let go of all those reservations, because when you're doing a ritual, again, you're not just doing the ritual for yourself. You're trying to speak to the world.
Yep.
You're trying to speak to the land. So you need to make it that much more. You need to let go of them inhibitions. You need to reach down, let that out. And you're trying to fill this beautiful, beautiful void, this perfect epitome of feminine. And you need to take and reach down for all that you're worth, and you need to do that thing justice. You need to have pride. You need to give it all the man that you are. And so you fill that circle with all the power that you can, and you reach down and you let the world know. You tell them what you want. You are reaching down into your own epitome, into your own salts, and you're saying, give me the amps.
This is
how you get things done.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you guys can all feel what I'm feeling as he is projecting that masculinity, but it is a force field. There is force behind it, and that can be felt in ritual, and it was felt over the weekend in ritual.
That's right. So Christy, you're not saying that you felt like, oh, these men are so toxically masculine, I just don't feel safe anymore. You're saying
no, it was quite the opposite, until they really stood up and growled, like really stood in that masculinity, that then the magic came into the circle.
Holy fuck. Wait. You're saying it felt opposite, that you actually felt safer once the salt dropped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
Right. Did you guys hear that? Now, please think about why society wants you to say there's no difference between gender, right?
Because we have no power when we're neutered.
That's right. And so when they tell you the toxic masculine is something to fear, what they really mean is, please fear your salt. Please fear your power.
Don't stand in your power.
Yeah. Please fear all of that. And in fact, I don't think that Ben could have brought the masculine salt into that circle without there being some like people's reaction of like, holy fuck, is this proper? Is this right? Is this socially acceptable? It has to come in that way, guys. I'm talking about the original definition of the word good. A good man who walks into town is intimidating. Your eyes are on that good man. Yes, your eyes are on the good man because he is full of power, full of it. And if you are an alchemist, you will ride that good man like a Jacob's ladder, won't you? You will rise to his occasion. And that's what this ceremony does. For some reason, people think, this is going to sound incredibly arrogant, I don't give a shit. For some reason, people think, oh, well, James True, if he's here at this ceremony, it will be more important. If Benjamin Balderson is here at this ceremony, it will be more important. If Owen Benjamin is at this ceremony, it will be more important. All of us had this, right? With David Weiss was there, Dr. Kaufman was there, Christy Balderson was there. All these people were there, and we made it more important. We were scaffolding for each other. We did not want to let each other down. So we are intrinsically doing this by destroying ourselves, like what Benjamin's talking about, destroying that ego and using the action to rise. Just like in baking, to rise up, right? To Inuksuck, which was changed to Inukchuk, but it's actually Inuksuck is that original definition. The idea of taking a bunch of rocks and piling them into a cairn was to Inuksuck, was to take the broken rubble of your life and build a tower with it, build something tall with it, build something that will last throughout the eons for others to mark, for others to use in their own rituals. So much of this is about resonance. A resonance is in the sense of ritual, a resonance in what you do. When I came back, my red squirrels are gone. I've been gone for almost a week. The resonance of me feeding them stopped. So there was a silence. Now the red squirrels are gone. I have to build back up the resonance again before they will come back. And so too, as above, so below, does this ritual build off a resonance. This is not our only campfire. This is not our only ceremony. This is just the beginning. Because what Benjamin, Christy, and I want to do is help spread this idea of ceremony. We don't want 1 million we don't want one giant big campfire. We want thousands of small campfires like what we had. What we had in Rhinebeck is a blueprint. It's a model for others who want to choose to adopt it. And you'll notice that the model that you'll be adopting is not going to be a pre-formatted ceremony that everyone has to read their sheet off the paper. That no.
Which is why we're not even telling you what we did.
Yeah. It's about finding flow state, isn't it? It's about finding the right flow state and trance state, because that's the only way you will survive through the ceremony, because you will have to drop your identity so you can cast it into the fire. That's part of how this works. I'd like you to imagine that you've gone to a sock hop in school and they just started playing music and everyone's going, and that's the party right now, right? And that's what's happening. And that's how the ceremony begins. And a good DJ, a good Balderson will come in and say, bring the noise, man. Bring the fucking noise. And that's what's required. And each of us are going to do that. Each of us are rising the resonance of ourselves through the earth. And I'm telling you guys, what we did in Rhinebeck is going to be contagious. That fire was one of 19. This is just the beginning. And we are going to be raising this ritual. We're going to be raising this magic larger and larger every time we bring it. Is that right, Ben?
Absolutely. So if you're not catching it, what we're talking about here is here in October, we're going to have another campfire at my place in Northern California. And coincidentally, a bunch of people started asking about that and lived in that area. And another thing that I want to throw in is, apparently James didn't look at his GPS or his weather map or anything, but coincidentally, the area we were actually in when we started this ceremony was Bear Mountain. So I think some of the people might appreciate that quite a bit. And we plan on talking to some bears about doing this thing, including a big one. And what we're talking about is going around and telling you how to do a ritual or prescribing a ritual, but showing you the mechanics of the ritual and getting something built, helping be the seed, be the amp that helps build that and give it the backbone and the spine and the power in order to help do that. So everybody can start living a life that they want. Because at the end of the day, I have no desire to see a centralized government in any way. The beauty of, I've been to almost every cultural ceremony that you can imagine. Everyone I've ever had available, I've went to. Some of them quite extensively, because they're all an experience. And if I don't like that experience, and some of them I don't, even the Abrahamic straight Jewish, I went and went to a bunch of their ceremonies and then spoke with rabbis and sat down and took rabbinical classes for a while. Not because I wanted to convert into that, but because in order for me to understand that and experience it and neither admire the beauty of it, and there was beautiful things in it, I can admit that. And there was overall things I did not like about it in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. But until I had been there and experienced it, I can't say that I don't like chocolate pudding or tapioca pudding or vanilla pudding or any of these things until I experience them.
Yep.
And so I am.
Yep. Each of these ceremonies are, if each of us is a musician, then every opportunity we have at a ceremony is an opportunity to jam with new musicians. And if we bring our best game, we will be playing their riffs in future ceremonies to come subconsciously. We won't even know, because each of us are coming into it in a co-creative state. This is why I bitch so much about cosmology, guys. This is why I say each of you has to have your own cosmology. Stop fucking pussyfooting around and grabbing something else off the shelf and saying, oh, hi, I'd like to purchase this cosmology, please. Because the moment you adopt your own cosmology is the moment you create your own dance. It's the moment you start inventing the whole... Someone invented that because they made their own cosmology. And that's what we're here to do. And as these ceremonies grow, my goal is that every waxing moon at some point is for me to be at someone's campfire. It's for me to ask, hey, who wants to do one of these? I don't want this to have more than 19 people. I'm not saying it can't, because I'm not in charge of that. Someone else is in charge of that ceremony.
It's your ritual.
It's your ritual.
We're just here to help give it backbone.
Yeah, if you want to have 100 people there, then have 100 people there. I'm not here to tell you that's wrong. I'm just here to tell you this. When 19 people are living together for 3 or 4 or 5 days, those 19 people enter into a sweat, a living sweat lodge that takes place over those days. They get to know each other. More importantly, they get to know what it is that makes each other uncomfortable. That's such a crucial part of it. There were 3 people there at this last gathering that there was discomfort between me and them. And it was such a beautiful feeling to have that tension there, to have that system that I could work on. It was a reflection of myself going, James, why do you have problems with people? Why aren't you able to get along? And instead of me rejecting that and covered it up, I embraced it. I said, this is part of my salt. I'm bringing a certain salt here. There's certain people Benjamin didn't connect to, but I was the conduit between his bridge. Christy was the bridge between us and I would say most of the women. We wouldn't have had that without her. There's no way we would have had that without her. So each of us have this vital piece, and there's not a pre-prescribed way to do that. The second that we all have a prescription for how this is done is the exact same time that most of us will lose ourselves in the procedure. We will be wrapped in the cellophane of regurgitation. And with that regurgitation, you're now bringing something different to the ritual. You're bringing your obedience, not yourself. These are very different things, my friends. Very, very, very different things. To be obedient to something is to delegate. To bring yourself is to delegate nothing. It's the antithesis of that. And these are very, very different important elements. I might even go so far as to say the oil is the obedience and the salt is the vitality. That these are different sort of thoughts. These are different, completely different reactions that should, in effect, oppose each other. This is why when the ritual began, we began with men and women being separate in a mitosis. The group itself created a mitosis where all of a sudden all the men went one way and all the women went the other way. And the women converged and said, we're bringing this. And the men converged and said, we're bringing that. And it was a co-created experience based on our oil and salt, not based on our niceties, not based on our ability to be obedient to the social structures. It was the antithesis of that. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, not based on the ego, the things that we're projecting out for the whole world. We're talking about inside now. Well, the ego is beautiful, and that's why it's such a important thing. When you sacrifice, you sacrifice something precious because you're asking for something powerful. And your ego is that sacrifice, the thing that I don't want to look like a fool to the world. That's your ego speaking. If you truly want this other thing that you're asking for, you need to ask for it with your everything inside you.
Yep.
So that needs to get out of the way.
Yep. We got about 3 minutes left. Christy, can you speak to what transformations you saw
Love you guys.
in you and anyone else around you who participated in that ritual? Before and after?
Before and after. I think before there was confusion and some of that wanting to fall in line and do it the right way. Like, are we doing this right? Are we doing this right? And I think when we left that circle empowered. We left that circle changed. I definitely feel like if one of the more beautiful things is it just really cemented the circle of friendship that we created over that week.
Vastly different people.
And I think it really kind of helped pull everything to fruition. It was the capstone. And I dare say, I think that those men walked out of that circle taller.
Yeah.
And I think we women walked out of that circle feeling more in our divine feminine rather than just our everyday.
Oh,
are you
chin's up?
Yeah, your chin's up.
Yep.
Your feathers are out.
Oh yeah.
And not only that, but I think when you get a group of women together, it can oftentimes be a very unpleasant situation. It can be very catty, very competitive, very just unpleasant. And it had the opposite effect. It was unifying. We were blessed to have women in that divine circle that were confident in themselves and not needing affirmation elsewhere. And so the feminine power that did make that circle was absolutely definitive. It was confident. It stood in its own power. And say hi to Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi. So I don't know if that answers your question at all,
Yeah,
James.
it does. Yeah, I was hoping you would say that. I didn't know what you were going to say, and I was hoping that you would say that. This is the crucial ingredients to how this happens. I would dare go so far as to say that we trauma bonded, and I love that we are retooling that word because it's that's how you do it, guys. That's how you do it. You
Right.
You bring something that's uncomfortable and you appease it. And when I say uncomfortable, I'm talking about all the sacrifices that everyone made to go there. All the sacrifices that were done during, before, in the middle, and after. So yeah, all these are crucial things. Amanda, thank you for hosting this lovely couple, and especially on their honeymoon journey.
Hell yeah.
Any thoughts you want to share with us about ritual or ceremony?
I don't know much about it myself. Yeah, definitely don't talk about stuff I don't know about yet.
I gotcha. Well, this is a great stream to start. I think that most of us do not know um, enough about ritual and ceremony. And so, because of that, we're going to be finding ourselves either ignoring it or hopefully doing something even better and fixing that. And actually fixing that thing. Guys, I'm going to sign off to y'all now so I could do a proper goodbye to my audience and tell them about the rest of the week. But
Love you guys.
Thank you.
love you both. Thank you, Amanda, for hosting them too. Benjamin, we will talk soon, my wonderful friend. We will talk really soon and much more to come.
Love you, brother.
All right, take care. Guys, that was lovely. Wait a minute, let me shut this off. So sometimes they don't know that it's the end there. And yes, I've been doing these ceremonies since I was in my 20s. If you guys have read my first book, you know that I used to work in a wilderness camp, and ever since I've left that wilderness camp, I've been wanting to start another one. This idea of a campground would be an alchemical school. There was much to unlearn. That's part of what's to be on top of that. This alchemical school would have this campfire ceremony actually happening every single day. What happens is that as we all work on a common goal throughout the day, let's say we're making a trail on a campground, the sweat and labor that goes into making that trail is actually fuel. It's what we're bringing to the ritual that night, to the campfire ritual. When I would do this, I was working with teenagers, but this works fantastic with adults. It works even better because the adults have volunteered to be there. But through that day, there's going to be some strife, some vitriol. This is a key ingredient to alchemy, by the way, that word vitriol. They bring that vitriol back to the campfire that night and say, James, you're a total dick today at lunch about blah, 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 blah. And I, at the campfire, have now been called out. Right? I've been brought to the fire. I've been called out on my task. And I have a choice. I can embrace compassion and hear what my friend has to say, or I can resist and denial and say, well, you did this and you did that and you did that. These events, regardless of how I act, are crucial alchemical ceremonies for everyone around. What do I mean by that is that even if you weren't involved in my skirmish over lunch today, someone else watching will learn how poorly I responded to someone calling me out, or how well I responded. So even though I personally might have been given a challenge, a chance to grow, and maybe I blew it by not having enough ego to spend on that transaction, someone else was able to see that and grow and gain from it. And this is a crucial part of your growth. When we are living in a world of nicety, we've wrapped everything in saran wrap, and no one is allowed to express themselves. No one is allowed to express their differences. All they are is allowed to express a medium spectrum of nicety between each other, right? And all we're doing is sharing that limited secretion with each other. It's tepid, it's lukewarm, it's flaccid, and it's technically right. That's why these ceremonies are so important right now. We have to unlearn what's happened. We have to bring the oil and the salt to this central place and use it to alchemically change us. I'm going to guess to say that everyone who is at Rhinebeck, for the most part, feels like this was a once in a lifetime opportunity I had by going. It's really special. I'm really glad I went. And here's what I'm trying to say. I've done these ceremonies every day for a couple of years. When I was living in the wilderness, during this part of it, it was an everyday ceremony. And I'm telling you that is how life is supposed to be. Each of us are supposed to be alchemically transmuting around each other. Instead, we all live in houses, and we try and only transmute in the privacy of our own homes when no one else is looking. That's why so few of us are able to see the truth. Because we are expected to be walking around the world with gnosis, with no ignorance, right? Ignorance is lent on our shoulder, so it's said. What I'm talking about is treating ignorance like a rare pheasant that you would find in the forest. A hunter would see that pheasant as luck. A hunter would see that pheasant as good fortune. When we see this weakness, we are not understanding the good fortune that it brings. We take it home and we hide it from everyone else, and we hope that it will magically turn from lead to gold if we put it in the fucking microwave. This is our dumb thinking. The fluorescent lights all around you are there to convince you you don't need a campfire. That's why they're there. That thumping, that tinnitus you hear, is 60 hertz of bullshit telling you you don't need to listen. These campfires are transformative. You are the immune system of the land. By building one of these fires, you're awakening a giant. Seize the day, my friends. Don't blow this summer. Make this the best apocalypse ever. Promise yourself that you will host one of these. I don't have to be there. You can do this yourself. And if I am a Johnny Appleseed this summer and I end up going around helping other campfires to inspire them to grow fine, I'm happy to do that. But my point is that that's not my fire, it's yours. That you're the one that said, I am the keeper of this flame. I am the immune system of this land. I am the living soil. If I could show you a picture, if I could show you this person named Lauren came to New York, and I don't even mean to single her out because this happened to everybody, but if I could show you a picture of Lauren before New York and after New York, if I could show you the electrical field that changed around her as a result of that ceremony, you'd know exactly what I mean. And she's just one of 19. She has that fire in her now. And people like Lane, me, perfect strangers that she didn't even know, saw that potential in her and said, fuck yeah, I can help that flame grow. And there, you will go through the rest of your day realizing that you need no certificates at work or ribbons from your boss to feel fulfilled anymore. Because when you see that divine spark flame up in someone else, and you were there in that ritual, helping that happen, you will find this is why you were truly here on this planet. Yes, I said planet, sorry. You will find out that's truly why you were here. You are the living soil. These campfires are neurons of the heart. The land's heart has been silent because all the neurons have not been flashing. They've been turned off while this electric blanket has been laid, a shroud has been covered. The nose of the land is a mound. The chin of the land is a mound. You are the soil. We are going to wake this place up. It is why we are here right now. All right? So be thinking about some land. Be thinking, where can I host 19 people to gather for a couple of days? What activity can we do together in vitriol? How can we take that vitriol back to the fire every night? And how can we use it to transmute ourselves into something better? And when you host one of these ceremonies, you will be spoken and remembered forever as the keeper of that fire, as Nindawan, a torch bearer, Nindawin, Nendawen. We need you to do this. We don't need one big fire. This would never work if I was like, we need to have a big James True fire. It would never fucking work. We need thousands of little fires, right? We need a Benjamin fire. We need a Lauren fire. We need a Dave fire. We need a Brent fire, right? We need a Jonathan fire. We need a Christy fire. We need all these fires right now, guys. Right now. Look at the moon. Look at the new moon. Look at your life. Think about who would be good for me to bring to this recipe. Bake with people. Bake something amazing. If there's anything I can do to help you, you let me know. If you can find a place big enough that could host 19 people car camping with a bathroom and a full kitchen, you're gonna need it comfortable for people so they can focus on the task right now. All right. If you can find a place that you can host that, hit me up. Let me know. We're creating an underground railroad. We're creating a bear trail. We're creating a new land on top of the old. Babylon is going to be jealous as fuck of what we are doing. It's already happening. It's been happening in your home. Open the window, let that vibration out. People will smell it. They will come. This will only get better. Thank you so much for being patient while I was gone. I hope you guys come back. I love doing this show. I want to keep doing more. I want to talk about mounds. I definitely want to take all we've discussed with the Civil War and show you what was here before. I want to talk more about these soil, salt, oil, soil. And I want to talk more about these rituals. I'm going to ask you one more time, if you want to throw down a wedding gift for Christy and Benjamin, I've pasted their PayPal link in there, and it'd be great. They came a long way, and there is no way in the world I could do this without Benjamin. There's no way in the world New York would have happened without Andy Kaufman. I can't do this alone. I need thousands of you to step forward and say, James, could you come and do, if you need me, I'll be there. But I need you to be that root. I need you to draw that circle, right? I need you to do that. Just like what we were talking about. The women make the circle, and the men come in and square it. That's as simple as this ritual is. That's really all it takes for this to make sense. You'll build your own ritual. It'll be a million times better. When I come to your ceremony, you're going to show me something I didn't think of, and I'm going to want to incorporate it in my next one. All right? All this takes for this to happen is you need an opening and a closing. I recommend you take pictures of everyone before the ceremony and after. The very first day they get there, on that very first night, have a fire where everyone has to come at a certain time. Just stay for an hour. It's not like this. You don't make this a freaking Greek Orthodox ritual wedding where there's like a 6-hour ceremony. Everyone's fainting because they're trying to wait for the 17th reading of the blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Just set it up first. Get a picture of everybody. On your closing ceremony, after that or the next day, get a picture of everybody. Look at the difference. Look at what you did. Look at how you transformed everyone. Every one of those is going to go out and they're going to want to start their own campfire, and this thing will take off. It will take off whether you wanted it to or not, because that's how this works. This is an economy of resonance. Babylon is the economy of coercion and secretion. The land, nature, is the economy of resonance. Plant those seeds, set your intention, and make it happen, guys. Make it happen. We have a lot to do in 2020. Don't blow it. I'm going to try as hard as I can not to. Every day counts. Every day counts. All right, guys? Let me know where it is. I want to give a special shout out to Crow Bear, OKC Bear, and Gaia Bear. Thank you guys for being such awesome mods in D Live. I came in this morning to post, okay, I'm doing a show, and you guys had already done that. Thank you. Bless you guys. Seriously, it means a lot. Appreciate all the help. Thank you all the super chats that I got. Holy cow. Andrea Fagan. There's others. In fact, some of you asked some interesting questions, which I'm going to get to, I promise. I have got to get back in the mode here of being back at the porch. There is a red squirrel as I'm talking to you now. He's just not on camera, but he's back, so don't worry. All the guys are fine. And the hummingbird too, but when Benjamin was talking, I didn't want to take off the camera because it's really important. But a hummingbird came by too. So me being gone is still the resonance is still returning. All right, guys. See you in the Bears Lounge. To those who are going there, and let's make